That was nearly 5 years ago, and the hype in the community stayed the same all the way to launch. Now the question has to be asked, is this game the best thing Square Enix has ever put out? The godly ending game to a thrilling series spanning across more than 10 games? Well, you saw the obvious clickbaity thumbnail for this video already, so in my opinion, no, it's not. But I really want to put the emphasis on the my opinion part. Truth is, I only just got into Kingdom Hearts about a year and a half ago, so I haven't been following the series since I was just a kid like a lot of the fan base has been. In fact, I've only played all of 2.5, about half of 1.5, and I saw my friend play 2.8. So this review really won't be aimed towards the die-hard KH fans. You probably already bought the game and think that it's amazing. And if so, then that's great. I'm even amazed that this game came out with all the delays and rumors, so I'm just happy the fans got a product. But for the rest of us, those who are just semi-invested into the series, or maybe even just heard that KH3 was coming out, and didn't know whether to get it or not, this review is aimed towards you. I'm going to split this up into 3 sections: story, gameplay, and nitpicks. Let's begin. Honestly, a few days before I even got KH3, I wanted to fully understand what was going on so I wasn't confused every 5 minutes someone was saying something about a replica or a nobody. So, after warming my brain up by solving string theory, I watched a few YouTube videos, read some of the wiki, rewatched the videos, reread the wiki, gave up, cried, ate some ice cream, and then, only then, was I able to understand the story. Afterwards, I was actually really excited to get into this final journey, rescue Aqua, awaken Ventus, and stop Xehanort once and for all. But apparently the game didn't want me to do any of that for like the first 18 hours. So the story was mainly focused around the Disney worlds, and honestly the stories I liked the best were Toy Story. In fact, that was my favorite world of all time and the first one I went to, so you know. Big Hero 6 and Monsters Inc. You know why? Because they told an interesting new story that combined its elements with the ideas and themes of Kingdom Hearts. Like when Buzz started questioning what would happen to him if he was taken over by the darkness and became a Heartless. Or when everyone started to question whether Baymax truly had a heart since it was just made out of data. I really like that. That was cool to watch. But then you have movies like Frozen and Tangled, and they pretty much just show you the movie with Sora awkwardly copy and paste it in. And considering that I've seen both of these movies and only like one of them, I got bored with most of the cutscenes. But even if I hadn't seen these movies, wouldn't the point be to make a story that's separate from the movie, so I'll be interested in watching the original thing? Which would mean I'd spend more money on Disney stuff. That was the case with Big Hero 6. I was actually interested in the world and most of the characters that I wanted to see the movie itself. But Frozen and Tangled just felt like the visual cliff notes of the movie. What about the Pirates of the Caribbean? Right. The same thing pretty much goes for that world as well. But instead of having Sora just follow the characters who will help us understand the plot of this world, the game is all like, nah, screw that, let's go collect some crabs! And the thing is, the plot was already confusing from the movie alone, and it's not even the Good Pirates movie. So cutting out crucial moments from the story is just gonna confuse it's gonna confuse everybody who hasn't seen this movie. And you may think that the Pirates world has such a bad story from the way I talked about it, but honestly, that was the better part of the world. But we'll get to that in a minute. As far as Twilight Town goes, it's meh. It's a disappointment. A lot of the areas from 2 are just cut out in this one, and I just thought it would have more to do since it was the only non-Disney world you could explore. I mean, there is the cooking minigame, but I hate that mainly because of... This might be a good spot to find some ingredients. This might be a good spot to find some ingredients. This might be a good spot. This might be a good spot. This might be a good spot. The Winnie the Pooh world was pointless. Filler. That's it. Also, like most people, I didn't really like the ending. I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but it just feels like it was put there to have a shock factor. It's just pointless and makes no sense. Okay, so the characters. I'm gonna go quick on some of these just because I want to dive deeper into 3 of them. He kind of seemed to be less mature in this one. By the end of 2, he was setting up to be a master Keyblade wielder and like the chosen one or something, but at the beginning of this game, he just kind of feels like a lost kid. Mainly because apparently he had amnesia in one of the spin-off games, which is such a good writing plot device. And he really doesn't show any, like, growth throughout the game until he gets to Ventus and is all like, I got served a pair of Waken now because I put Olaf back together and collected 300 crabs! Other than that, he was okay. Aqua? A lot of people say that it seemed weird that she was just so okay with being abandoned in the realm of darkness for 10 years. I kind of agree with that. I think even I would have written Mickey a strongly worded letter about that. Like, come on, man, if you weren't spouting exposition every 5 minutes, we could have wrapped this up like 5 years ago. And yeah, I do think rescuing her should have been in the middle, maybe even saving Ventus too, just to make the story flow a little better and keep people's interest.
Van.
I don't know, he was like a less cool Roxas.
Terra.
He was barely in the game. It almost seemed like he got Norded for no reason. Like, they could have just had anybody related to any of the characters in this place, and it would have been exactly the same. And Lingering Will was even in the game less. I was really pumped to fight alongside him or see this epic battle between him and Terra, but then that didn't happen. So that's cool.
Roxas.
I don't know, he was like a cooler Ventus.
Shion.
Still my main KH waifu, and his Kairi if Kairi had a personality and could actually use a Keyblade.
The rest of the organization members.
They were fine, nothing special really, except when they all died. Those were cool scenes. And Riku! He actually had a good arc. I liked his arc the best. Oh, I forgot about Maleficent and Pete, even while writing the script. So that should tell you how much they impact the story. Okay, so that just leaves Axel, Xehanort, and you.
What about Ericus?
I don't, he kind of looks like Hanzo. Okay, so Axel. Throughout this entire game, we see both Axel and Kairi trained to become Keyblade wielders that will fight in this final battle against all the 13 darknesses or whatever. And I was really on board with this idea. Kairi had just been on the sidelines waiting for Sora to rescue her and playing the damsel in distress in all the other games. And Axel, besides Roxas, was my favorite organization member, and I thought a redemption angle would be cool for him. Anyways, we're led to believe that by the time this battle comes around, they've trained for so long that they're as good as all the other advanced Keyblade wielders. Oh, and also Sora. But the first battle he's in, Axel just straight up loses his Keyblade, so meh. And then Kairi just gets kidnapped, making her the damsel for the 3rd time. Whoa. Should have had it been Riku. Sora seems to love that dude more anyways. So yeah, then after all that, we go to one of the coolest looking worlds in the KH franchise that of course we can't explore, fight Xehanort like 2.8 times, and then after all that, he just goes, "Oh, I'm actually a good guy, because I was doing this with good intentions." You see, Xehanort was portrayed to be one of the most evil people in all of Kingdom Hearts. I mean, look what he does to Ventus here. Damn, dude, that's just brutal. So I thought he was a really cool villain for this series, and I was all on board for him being super evil. But then they just invalidate all that by trying to make him the good guy. Fine, I don't care anymore. Let's talk about the good features of this game first, because yeah, surprisingly, there is some stuff I liked about the game. I like how this game runs at 60 frames per second, that is if you're playing on default mode. I know this may seem like a, well of course it's gonna be 60 FPS, but you'd be surprised how many console games still cap at 30. Anyways, I also really like the graphics for this one. Kingdom Hearts is an old game, so it's really cool to see just how far they've come in quality of graphics. I honestly think that the in-game graphics for 3 look almost as good, if not just as good, as the cutscenes from 1. It's also not that hard of a game, which makes it better for newer players, but yeah, I realize this is also a con, and we'll get into why that is in a minute. But I am glad that it's not as challenging as 1, so that more people can play and enjoy this game instead of just get angry at the first boss battle and quit. Magic is actually really fun to use in this too. I thought things like Shot Lock was actually a really good addition, because while it was powerful, it wasn't something you could just use whenever, so you always had to save it for the right moment in a battle. My favorite part of this game is actually the Labyrinth part where you get to fight all the organization members, because those boss battles kind of reminded me of the data fights from 2.5, which actually took a decent amount of skill and strategy to beat, so it's nice to see those fights transition to 3. What else? Oh, yeah, you can have more than 3 party members, that's cool. The mechs and Toy Story were cool. Okay, and that does it for the positives. Now let's get into the things that frustrate me and give me those sweet, sweet dislikes. If I could summarize all the battles in this game with 2 words, it would be transformations and attractions. The Keyblade transformations I actually kind of liked. They did feel powerful, but the problem is they happen too often. Like, I can use it in almost any battle on any Heartless. If the charge for the transformations took longer, causing them to only occur on tougher mini-bosses and boss battles, then I think they would have been perfect. But right now, they just feel a little too OP. But that's nothing compared to the Disney attractions! These things literally seem to happen every battle that has more than one enemy. And they don't even take time to charge up like the Keyblade transformations. Instead, a green circle appears around a random enemy, and as long as you hit that enemy once before the circle goes away, then you just get the attraction immediately. It's basically just RNG, and once you get it, you pretty much win the battle against normal enemies and do massive damage to boss battles. Now sometimes they're cool, like when you use the coaster against the first Titan in the Hercules world, but then there are other times when that's not the case, like when I'm on the carousel against normal Heartless, and all I'm doing is pressing X to spin faster. Couple that with the fact that these happen way too often, and I almost feel like I'm cheating and I didn't really win the battle on my own. As far as the team attacks go, I think they're like the transformations. They're fun to do, but they happen too often and should take more time to charge. So, if you're keeping count, you can have Keyblades that go through several transformations with powerful final attacks, Disney rides that pretty much make you invincible and almost always win you the battle, multiple team attacks that also make you invincible and happen so frequently that they're almost always the first thing you can do in a battle, and all the magic you want to command that deals massive amount of damage. Even with the good things like Shot Lock and regular magic, it just feels too OP. I remember wondering if I was ever going to get Reflect because it was my favorite thing to use in 2.5, but my friend told me that they didn't put it in because it was too OP. While some of the boss fights in this game are cool, I feel like they linger a lot by just either having them move around so fast that you can't hit them, or have phases where you can't touch them and have to fight minions instead. And yeah, Kingdom Hearts has had this issue in the past, but that shouldn't be an excuse to keep doing it. Overall, the boss battles weren't bad, except for the Kraken, I hated that one. What really annoys me though is just they had a chance to have Sora fight each organization member in every world at the end. That probably would have made for a cool boss fight and a way to show that Sora is growing with each member he beats. Now they didn't do this because obviously they were saving all the members for the Labyrinth fight, but why couldn't Sora have just fought them the first time in the Disney World, and then after each member was beaten, they could have just retreated? I'm just saying, it's not that much of a stretch, and it would have been cooler than what we got in my opinion. As far as the non-Disney boss battles go, I thought Xehanort was okay, except for when he went underwater, but Aqua and Vanitas' battle seemed a little too easy for what I was expecting. Now you might be saying,
It's a get-off beginner.
I'll have you know that I played this game on proud. Mama didn't raise no Kyrie. I think if the game were to get a critical mode, then the battles would probably be a bit more challenging, but we'll just have to wait and see if that's the case. Okay, before we finish talking about the gameplay, I want to talk about two worlds in particular. The Frozen world and the Pirates world. I've only really got two things that annoy me about this world gameplay-wise. Just two things. The platforming while climbing up the mountain, and the Olaf minigame. As far as Kingdom Hearts goes, I don't really see it as a platformer. That just doesn't work for me. I had trouble a decent amount of times climbing up the mountain to the point that it frustrated me more than almost any of the battles. And they make you climb this thing multiple times. So yeah, please take wall climbing and air stepping out. I know they won't, but wouldn't it just be great? And the Olaf minigame is just...
Hey, I'm over this way.
La 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 la.
Hey, I'm over this way.
La 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 la.
Annoying? Who thought that ship combat was a good idea? Because it doesn't work in this game. At least, not the way they made it. The combat tries to emulate what games like Black Flag did, except in this game, there's not much variety. It's just one button to shoot, and another to activate an invincible force field that protects the ship. Kind of like Reflect, except I thought they said they weren't going to put Reflect in the game because they said it was too OP. Oh, and you can pretty much destroy almost any ship in one shot if you hit the obvious-looking Heartless/Darkness ship part. And all you get from destroying ships are either potions, which I can buy at stores very easily because money's never a problem in this game, or crabs. No, I'm serious. You need crabs to upgrade your ship. No, I'm serious. And when you do collect enough, your ship doesn't really look any different, it just does more damage and gets more health. But it doesn't even matter, because the final ship boss can be beaten at ship level 1. I did it in 2 tries. They also give you this giant world to explore with your ship, but there's really nothing to find. I think it would have been cool to go to one of the islands and find like a secret keyblade, or maybe a side mission, or something other than just fighting random heartless enemies. Anyways, I give the gameplay a 300 white crabs out of 10 creepy kraken tentacles. Moving on. So I'm going to quickly finish this off with some of the things that could be considered nitpicky. This doesn't really affect my opinion of the game that much. In total, all of these things probably brought the game down like 0.5 for me. So let's begin. First of all, there's no iconic keyblades like Oathkeeper, Oblivion, Fenrir. And if I wanted to see transformations for any of the keyblades, it was definitely those. Also, you can't use the Keyblade after beating Xehanort. I know why you can't for story purposes, but I mean, the data battles and lingering will fights aren't canon in 2.5, so why can't you just give me the epic weapon that you've been hyping up for so long and just say it's not canon? Some of the cutscenes drag on. This is especially apparent in the worlds that just recreate the movie, as well as the Keyblade graveyard stuff. For example, we have to listen to a full rendition of Let It Go. I don't hate this song, I just don't understand why the full thing had to be in the game. There were no Final Fantasy characters either. This one really annoyed me the most, I think. When I imagine Kingdom Hearts, I think of Disney and Final Fantasy together, so it almost feels like half of what makes this game unique was missing. Like, Leon and Yuffie are kind of big staples in the franchise. And Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, they would have all made cool temporary party members. I'm also a really big fan of 7, so I might have just a tiny bit of a bias. Also, considering how big Final Fantasy 15 was when it released, and the fact that the characters are the best part of it, you would have thought they'd put at least one of the 4 guys in it. But nope, we can't have nice things. Also, like I said earlier, Twilight Town is the only non-Disney world we can explore, and most of it was cut out. There was no Radiant Gardens, Hollow Bastion, Traverse Town, and we couldn't even explore Destiny Islands, really.
And finally...
What are these Instagram loading screens? Never thought I'd find my way to these shores again. It's almost like someone wanted me to come here. Hashtag Way to the Dawn, hashtag Realm of Darkness, hashtag Beaches, hashtag Aqua, hashtag Searching.
So yeah, 6 out of 10. It's good, but holy crap, it could be better.
Hey, what's going on, guys? If you watched the entire thing, thank you so much. If you only watched 2 seconds of it, thank you for giving me validation. I just want to give a shout out to Geo Chittle and Emily. Y'all are keeping the dream alive over at Patreon. If you want to support me, please go ahead and click the link down in the description below. If you don't want to support me, that's fine. I'll just go and eat ice cream and cry. If you want to check out another video, I'm sure there's something. It's either above me, below me, to the left, to the right, to somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, you can click that. If you don't want to, I'll just go cry and eat ice cream. But yeah, thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.